What's good, everybody? Timeless Traveler here, and welcome to my How to Redstone series, where we talk about all things Redstone, from basic components to advanced circuitry and wires and whatnot, the do's and don'ts, the technical aspects, the cans and can-nots, everything Redstone will be in this series. So don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and slap that notification bell if you want to stay up to date on all future content. Now, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get on with the episode. Alright, crafters, on today's episode of How to Redstone, we're going to be going over Basics Part 2. We're going to discuss the piston, sticky piston, observer, and the daylight sensor. All right, now if we go and take a look over here to our testing area, we've got this nice little display set up. We're going to first discuss the do's and don'ts of the piston. So what does the piston do? Well, it can push up to 12 blocks at a time if nothing is in its way. It can be placed on all 6 sides. It can be pushed by other pistons. It can be pushed and pulled by sticky pistons. And it can't push obsidian, and I think it goes without saying that it also cannot push bedrock. All right. Now, we also have some Bedrock exclusives. The piston can do a few things on bedrock, or it has some properties and some interactions with other bits of redstone that Java does not do. So in Bedrock, we can have redstone running past it and not directly into it to power it. And it will allow redstone to be placed on top to power it without the redstone breaking. I put vertical redstone in parentheses as an example. We can use typically glass as a vertical redstone line, but you can also use pistons exclusively in the Bedrock edition. All right, so if we take a look here, just for starters, we can see that it is in fact placeable on all 6 sides. Now, mind you, it does not have to actually point out that same direction that that block is. You can have it here or here, any direction you want to have it placed. You just need to align your blocks properly to get it set up like so. Now, we can push 12 blocks. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. Go ahead and push, and it pushes all 12 of them, and then we can just bring it back. Okay. Now, you'll notice here, I'm going to put down 1 block. That makes it 13 in total. Nothing happens there. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and we can take a look at the obsidian here. And as you can see, it will not work. Obsidian can't be moved by the piston. And we can push the piston like so. And on the topic of how redstone runs into it. So if we were on Java, unless you were to use a repeater, this is how you would have to configure your piston. So I'm just going to put one right here. And you would have to have it running straight into it, like so, okay? Or like that. And you couldn't have it veer off in a different direction like this. It would not even connect to the piston. On Bedrock, you can see it connects, but if this were Java and that piston was right there, just imagine the piston's still there. The redstone line would do this. So we can't connect it in Java, but we can in Bedrock, which makes it useful for some of our builds. We can also place redstone and items on top of the pistons. They will activate, and the redstone dust or any item that you place will not break. Let's do a little demo here. As we can see, all pistons are firing, no matter how the redstone is running into it. Okay. And we can do a vertical redstone line here with pistons if we want to. Now let's go ahead and talk about our sticky pistons, all right? So they're going to be the same as the piston, but it will also pull the block touching its slimed side. It cannot pull obsidian, and also it cannot push obsidian. It doesn't affect gravity blocks like sand or gravel. It will push and pull the gravity blocks, but if you try to pull it from the ground up, it will go up and the gravity will simply bring it back down. It doesn't stick to glazed terracotta or leaves, and when activated, it will break any items placed on it. Okay? So, we take a look here. Now, everything that we just did with the piston, you can do the same thing with your sticky piston. These are just additional features that are exclusive to the sticky piston. So as you can see here, it's not going to pull the leaf, and it's going to pull the sand up, but the sand is going to come straight back down. As you can see here, doesn't change the gravity mechanics. And glazed terracotta is not going to be able to be pulled by our sticky piston. And items placed on it. So what we can do here, we can still push and pull a sticky piston. Now, if I were to place an item on top of it, that one that's being moved will break whatever item is on top of it. Okay? And then we can, as we saw before, we can push and pull the sticky pistons. Next one on our list is the observer. We take a look here. The observer detects or observes any update to a block or item and outputs a 1-tick pulse per observed update. It can detect source and flowing water/lava. The observer is very simple. It is one of my favorite blocks, actually. I highly recommend using this in your builds if you have not already. So what this does is whenever we press a button, it produces 2 updates, when it turns on and when it turns off. Those are 2 separate updates that the observer is going to detect. So for each update, it's going to emit a quick 1-tick pulse. As we can see there, an update when it activates and when it deactivates. And that is the item update. Let's take a look at the block update. So if we put a block in front, you'll see that it emitted a pulse during both occasions. Okay? And on the topic of items, this also applies with item frames. So if we place an item frame here, you won't see it because it's a resource pack I have, makes it invisible for decoration. But as you saw there, place the item frame down, it's going to update. Now, you can also place an item in the item frame. The observer is going to, the observer is going to detect that update. Now, for those that don't know, whenever something is in an item frame, it actually has 8 states that it can be in. Each of those states will count as an update that the observer will detect. So if we rotate this around, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. It will detect all of those updates. Same thing goes for our redstone. It will detect when the redstone is powered and when it is unpowered. And then our last one that we have for the observer is we're going to get a water bucket here. And you'll notice that it updates when it notices flowing water and when the flowing water goes away. It will also detect water sources. And then the last one for today is going to be our daylight sensor. So acting like a solar panel, it outputs a signal strength based on the time of day. It can power all 4 sides, the space above and below it. It can be inverted to detect darkness instead of sunlight. We got day mode and night mode. Okay? And a Bedrock exclusive is that it can be pushed and pulled by pistons and sticky pistons. All right, so if we take a look here, it's a little after noon, and we have a daylight sensor here, and it is powering this sticky piston, and it is also powering the sides next to it. And if we take a look here, it will also power the space below it. It can be pushed and pulled by our sticky pistons, and it can be pushed by our pistons. Now, I mentioned that we have a day mode and a night mode. So what we can do is if you just interact with your daylight sensor, we can toggle night mode and day mode. In day mode, of course, it detects sunlight, outputs the signal. In night mode, it detects the amount of the darkness and outputs a signal strength from there. So if we start at the early morning, we can take a look here. It's going to be a bit darker. So we have a signal strength coming out of the daylight sensor on night mode. And in day mode, it outputs a weaker signal because, of course, we have less sunlight. as the day progresses. Of course, this signal strength in night mode gets weaker. The day mode gets stronger. And then we saw it in noon already. We are at full signal strength when it is at noon. And then things are going to get a little bit darker. Sunset's kicking in. And as you just saw, we got a quick signal strength from the night mode. And the day mode is coming down. And as you can see, we already have the outputs changing signal strength. And if we go a little darker, if we go to night mode, you could say daylight sensor, the night mode gets stronger and the day one gets weaker. And then we have full-blown midnight, not outputting a complete signal strength, max signal strength, simply because it is still light out. It is moonlight, so it is still a form of light, so it will not output the max signal. And then the daylight one is completely off. And that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you all again so much for watching. I am Timeless Traveler, and this was How to Redstone Basics Part 2. I hope someone out there, one of you, has learned something new today. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave a like, hit that subscribe button, and slap that notification bell if you want to stay up to date on all future content. So you all take care, have a great day, and until next time, I will see you all again in the next episode.